because you need the chag to be, you need the holiday to be over to blow shofar.
Leave me a voicemail, please?
Okay. Put in,
It looks like
Hi, this is your captioner. Can I please be assigned? Thank you.
What was that?
Hi, I'm providing a transcript. Can I please be assigned to closed captioning?
Can you hear me?
Could you please tell me your name?
Give a nod or if you can hear me.
My name is transcriber in the participant list.
Yeah.
I think you can.
No, I'm hearing it from the room.
No, I understand. I mean, from Zoom. Shalom. No, they're not even hearing me from that.
I mean, they've given me.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Oh.
echoey.
Shalom, shalom. Good evening. And he's not hearing me. I know.
We can hear you, but you're very distant.
The sound is poor.
Can you hear me now? Nope.
The big echo.
Shalom. Can everybody hear me?
Still very echoey. They're actually live and
No.
hollow sound.
Whatsoever.
Is there another mic open on the Bima?
Yeah.
Can that be turned off?
Hello? I don't know why they put me through my computer. Anybody hear me?
That's better.
Nothing?
There you go.
Rabbi, can you indicate that you can hear us? Several people have left you messages. Can you hear us?
It says chat is disabled. And I'm not a co-host or anything. They've clipped my wings.
Could the chat be enabled? He might be able to see our messages then.
Oh. Now we hear them. I hear myself. Shalom. No.
Would the host please enable chat? I think it's really important to enable chat right now.
Shalom. Shalom. Anybody hear me? Oh. Now they say, you can hear me, but we're in the echo chamber. Yes, wonderful. So it's all back to normal. I am. Let's see. Is this better now?
No.
Still not. Marginally better.
It's a little better.
No, we don't hear you right now because you're muted coming into the synagogue. We could open that up and see what happens. Okay, now we hear you, maybe. Charlie, go ahead and speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you. That part's working. Thank you.
You still have a very hollow sound.
Yeah, well, because it's not working the way it's supposed to.
What is your current sound source? Your microphone.
What's that?
Is it the microphone in your computer on on your lectern?
No, it's muted. Yes, the person speaking off-site, I'm sure sounds good. Right. Well, so you'll hear two of me, that's all. Over and over and over again.
It's an incredibly live room. I mean, sort of like a stairwell or bathroom, but times 2 or 3 or 4.
Okay, is this any better? 1 second, we're plugging something else in.
Can you hear me now? No, that's not good. That's going to go in through Zoom back to our system.
There's also a feedback problem going on right now.
Although it is easier to understand than it was before.
In Zoom settings, you've turned on original sound.
Issue is that the soundboard isn't picking up the system from the sanctuary.
Whoever just tapped that little camera, I could hear that very clearly.
Oh, you're back there?
Yeah. So whoever is at the camera in that halfway up the aisle and tapped it.
Very clear.
This?
Yeah.
But that's going to have to pick up this down here. It's going to do that.
Are the synagogue sound system speakers off?
Can he get in? Okay. Okay, thank you. The sound from Zoom here. I'm going to go into my office, give a talk, so they can hear, and then we can pick up after that. Okay? Here. Okay. Oh, you'll give me. Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody. We're going to do things in a slightly different order than we had planned. Can you hear me pretty well?
That comes through very clearly.
Wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to give my talk first. I was going to do that after Kol Nidre, but I'm going to do it now while they try and figure out the second. Do things in a little bit of reverse order. That's okay. So welcome, everybody. And Shana Tova, Gamar Chatima Tova. They're working on things in, oh, there's still an echo?
There's not an echo, but if you can increase the pickup on your microphone just a little bit,
I don't know.
and or get closer to your microphone. And that's a Zoom control, probably.
Okay, here we go. Once, a man was traveling down a country road when he came upon a barn with many targets drawn on the side of it. Amazingly, right in the center of each target was an arrow. The man was impressed that there was a marksman who could shoot with such precision each and every time. He had to find this person and ask what the secret was. He knocked on the door of the house, and when a man answered, he asked him, "I see you are an excellent marksman. Please tell me your secret." The man replied, "Oh, it's actually quite simple. First, I shoot the arrow." Somebody's unmuted. The man replied, "Oh, it's actually quite simple. First, I shoot the arrow. First, I shoot the arrow, and then I draw the target around it." Wouldn't it be nice if that is how life was? If we could act and then set up the parameters of how our actions will be judged. Well, we know that's not how the way the world works. We're constantly trying to hit a bullseye, but often we miss. Our intentions are good, but we may act in ways that don't get the response we imagined. Our ideals are pure, but our human fallibility gets in the way. This reality, this human condition, is why we're here today. We're taking stock of the things we've tried to do well, but have missed hitting the mark. Throughout the next 24 hours, we're going to be reciting prayers that will use the word chet. It's typically translated as sin, but that translation doesn't do the word justice. Chet comes from the Hebrew word meaning missing a target. We know that all of us will miss the target sometimes in our lives. The real question is, what do we do when that happens? Melissa and I are trying to instill this understanding of tshuva in our children. We tell them that part of being in relationship with others means that we accidentally, or even purposely, hurt them. But we tell them when they do that they must complete a three-pronged process of fixing it. First, they must ask if the other person's okay. Second, they should make a specific apology. And third, they must ask if there's anything that they can do to make the situation better. This process models the steps for tshuva that Rambam, Maimonides, laid out in his 12th century text, the Mishnah Torah. He indicates that one must acknowledge they have done something wrong, right the wrong, ask for forgiveness, and then, when placed in the same situation again, make a better decision and act differently. The Meshech Chochmah, a commentary on the Torah written around 1870, by Rabbi Meir Simcha of Dvinsk, states that failure to do tshuva is worse than missing the mark in the first place. Missing the mark is a sign of being human, but not doing tshuva and repairing the fractured relationship is a sign of hubris and ultimate transgression. And yet, if all we do during this season of tshuva is ask for forgiveness, even if we work to heal the damage our actions cause, we've stopped short of completing the process. The last step is to act differently when the same situation arises. Judaism is a tradition of second chances. We recognize that we make mistakes and need the opportunity to do what is right the next time. For Rambam, this is the last step of the tshuva process. Once we've acknowledged our transgression, we make amends. But we complete our tshuva when the same situation presents itself again and we hit a bullseye. It's in this moment that we fully redeem ourselves and complete our cycle of tshuva. I'm blessed to have spent many years working with teens before I became a rabbi. During that time, I saw several occasions when those in leadership of a camp were faced with campers or staff members who were using drugs. Most of these programs have a zero tolerance policy. Once they know that someone's been using drugs, the camper is taken to their cabin and watched while they pack. They are then immediately sent home. They are not even given the time to say goodbye to their friends. I can understand the impulse to make a strong statement with such a policy, but I'm not sure it's the most effective way of helping the young people who transgressed the rules. One summer, I saw a different response. When I was working at the Genesis program, which is a teen summer program at Brandeis University, several of the participants were caught smoking marijuana. The staff met individually with each of the participants involved and had some lengthy conversations with them about what they'd done, what their participation in this act did to the group, and what the ramifications would be. In addition, the participant and staff together spoke with the child's parents. In the end, of the 6 involved, only 1 was sent home. This participant didn't own up to his actions. He continued to lie to the staff and clearly didn't take seriously the gravity of the situation and his role in it. The others admitted their wrongdoing and, at the urging of the staff, apologized to the entire group. They also planned some programs for the group as part of their tshuva process. The students recognized that their actions had a significant impact on the rest of the group. They pressured other students to lie or cover for them. And they created a culture of an in-group and an outsiders, which was not healthy. The programs they planned helped to rebuild the trust they had broken and brought the group together, so there was no longer an in-group or an out-group. By remaining at camp, they had to face the staff and their fellow campers, which they hurt. They had to live with the consequences of their actions. It's very clear to me that these students, when faced with a similar situation, will act differently. They clearly all learned from this experience and have shown much growth since then. One of these students is actually now the wife of a rabbi, and I would bet that by example, she teaches the message of tshuva to people in her husband's congregation. Instead of simply escorting the individuals off the premises, the staff of the Genesis program decided to enact our Jewish values and beliefs of tshuva and help them process their actions and the ramifications of them. I'm often asked if there's excommunication in Judaism. In some communities, there was a system of separating someone from the community called cherem. There's a reason that cherem, banning someone from the community, is reserved for the gravest of actions. This tshuva process doesn't happen with zero tolerance programs, because left on their own to sort out what happened, most kids, most of us, will not generally do the hard work tshuva requires, and certainly won't have the opportunity to help the community heal. This gives us insight into what we're supposed to be doing at this time. Yes, we're supposed to be reflecting on the year that's passed. But as the Meshech Chochmah teaches, if that's all we do, we've failed. However, if we seriously do tshuva, we will make the adaptations needed to change our lives and the lives of those around us. These changes don't have to be big. They just need to be goals that we set, actions we take, and outcomes that we measure to know that we've changed from who we were before, to people who will act differently when placed in the same situation. Frequently, our lives are full of examples of people who have made mistakes and need to work to make positive changes in their lives and the lives of people they know. Back in June, Nick Cannon interviewed Professor Griffith on his podcast. Professor Griffith made comments about the Black community being the true Israelites. He also asserted that Jews were the cause of the majority of wickedness that goes on across the globe. Nick Cannon jumped on board with comments like, "We give so much power to the theys, and theys turn into Illuminati, the Zionists, the Rothschilds." He also stated that their comments couldn't be anti-Semitic. He commented that it's never hate speech. You can't be anti-Semitic when we are the Semitic people, he said. When we are the same people who they want to be. That's our birthright. We are the true Hebrews. After the bad press that followed, and after Viacom CBS ended a decades-long relationship with Cannon, he began to apologize. Cannon shared the following: "I extend my deepest and most sincere apologies to my Jewish sisters and brothers for the hurtful and divisive words that came out of my mouth. I'm committed to deeper connections, more profound learning, and strengthening the bond between our two cultures today and every day going forward." Nick Cannon had some poignant one-on-one conversations which helped him better understand why his words were so hurtful to the Jewish community. A number of these were with individuals from the AJC, the American Jewish Committee, and most notably an interview with Rabbi Noam Marans, the American Jewish Committee's Director of Interreligious and Intergroup Relations. Rabbi Marans has seen the work that Nick Cannon has done and recognizes it as transformative tshuva. We know that it's not just the famous who need to make tshuva. We're all guilty. In a different arena, changes need to be made in the discourse that's carried out in our society. More and more, we only engage with people who have the same opinions and viewpoints as we do. Susan Jacoby, in her book, Age of American Unreason, asserts that we have gotten so polarized in our thinking that it's almost impossible for us to have respectful and productive conversations with people with whom we disagree. For this, everyone should shoulder the blame. No matter where we are on the spectrum, right, left, or center, Democrats and Republicans alike have contributed to this mess. People are only listening to people they agree with. There's a lack of understanding of how someone can believe a particular thing, and during the debate, they all end up dehumanizing the other. Language is used like they're immoral, they're a monster, or they're blind to the realities. How do we turn this around? By all of us being able to see the good in the other, by taking time to appreciate the strength and depth of someone else's opinions, even if it goes against what we think. Let's commit to having open debates without becoming disagreeable. Let's take an issue and see if we can argue and understand the other side. Not to go against our own views, but to give merit to the emotions and thoughts of our friends and neighbors. We can take this time as we celebrate Yom Kippur to pledge that we will not knock down someone else's ideas just to boost our own. We will not minimize someone's commitment to a cause just because they don't approach it the same way we do. I recognize how hard this is when the argument feels so personal and the other side feels so insulting. I'm not saying there are very fine people on both sides. I'm saying that we need to find ways for true dialogue on our differences. At the same time, we want to be sure not to condone behavior or beliefs we find abhorrent. As an example, I can assert the position that abortion should be legal, but at the same time recognize that it's the ending of a potential life and a tragedy. I can understand how others can be against it as they weigh their values in a different way. And I would hope we could both come to the position to condemn violence stemming from the issue. Maybe you're thinking this doesn't apply to us because we're always careful to consider both sides of an issue. However, as Abraham Joshua Heschel said when discussing racism in our country, an honest estimation of the moral state of our society will disclose some are guilty, but all are responsible. If anything has come out of the protests to support the Black community, it's that we cannot just say that we're not racist. We need to be anti-racist. We cannot be passive and allow for even minor slights against people of color, let alone major infractions, like the police brutality and killings we've seen. We must reorient ourselves so we don't make decisions that unconsciously uphold aspects of white supremacy, white dominant culture, and unequal institutions. We each need to see how we can actively help our country do tshuva so that when it's in the same position again, it makes a better choice. We're responsible, even if not guilty, but change is not easy. Recognizing what we can do is quite the task. We are set in our ways and don't see our role in maintaining the status quo. A great story is told that recounts a radio conversation of a US naval ship with Canadian authorities off the coast of Newfoundland in October 1995. From the Canadians, please divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. The Americans, we recommend you divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid the collision. Canadians, negative. You will have to divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. Americans, this is the captain of a US Navy ship. I say again, divert your course. Canadians, no, I say again, divert your course. Americans, this is the aircraft carrier USS Lincoln, the second largest ship in the United States Atlantic Fleet. We're accompanied with 3 destroyers, 3 cruisers, and numerous support vessels. I demand that you change your course 15 degrees north. I say again, that's 15 degrees north, or countermeasures will be undertaken to ensure the safety of this ship. Canadians, this is a lighthouse, your call. While this story is certainly humorous, it also points to how hard it is for people to realize they need to change the course of their lives. We humans have an unlimited capacity to be stubborn. One of the blessings for us is that our tradition sets aside a time every year for us to look at our lives and actions critically. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes once wrote, "The mark of a civilized person is their willingness to re-examine their most cherished beliefs." Centuries before the justice wrote these words, our tradition insisted that the mark of the ideal human being is not the examination simply of one's beliefs, but rather the examination of one's actions. This is the time to look at our lives, to figure out what we can and need to do to change the direction in which we're heading. Consider this verse from the book of Proverbs. One who covers up their faults will not succeed, but one who confesses and gives them up will find mercy. Throughout our prayers over the course of the next day, take time to reflect, not just on where you've missed the mark, but how you can make amends for these actions. And then, even if just for 1 or 2, set a course of action as to how you can change your behavior the next time. In the introduction to the Vidui, the confessional prayers, we say, are we so obstinate as to think we've not sinned? Are we so sure of ourselves that we won't change our course? If we don't watch out, if we don't, we better watch out. We could run into a lighthouse. Gemar Chatima Tova. Here, and I'll just take the sound from his, because he's going to be doing it over here.
Okay.
Can you hear me here? Okay, you have to shut that all up. Gotta shut that off. Shalom. Can you hear me here? Yes, wonderful. Okay, here we go. We are going to start Kol Nidre. We're going to do it straight from this camera right here. And if we need to, we'll then mute this one and get to another one, and we'll figure it all out for right now. But page 204, we'll begin with Or Zarua.
Go ahead. Or Zaru ala Tzadik, O Yisrael Simecha. Or Zaru ala Tzadik, O Yisrael Simecha. V'yeshiva shel mala, u'v'yeshiva shel mata. Al dat hamakom, v'al dat hakol. Anu matirin hitpalel, im ha'avaryanim. V'yeshiva shel mala, u'v'yeshiva shel mata. Al dat hamakom, v'al dat hakol. Anu matirin hitpalel, im ha'avaryanim. V'yeshiva shel mala, u'v'yeshiva shel mata, al dar hamakom v'al dar hakahal, anu matirin lihipalel im ha'avaryanim.
Page 205.
Kol Nidre v'sorei v'charamei v'konamei v'chinuyei v'kinusei u'shevuot dinedarna urish tabana uracharimna v'dasarna al nafshatana miyom kippurim zeh ad yom kippurim habaleinu Letava Kulhon Icharatna Vehon Kulhon Yehon Shiran Shevikin Shevitin Betelin Umevutalim Lo sharirin velo kayamin nidrana lo nidre v'esarana lo esare ushvuatana lo shivuot. Kol Nidre v'esarei v'charamei v'konamei v'chinuyei v'kinusei u'shevuot dinedarna urish tabana uracharimna v'dasana al nafshatana miyom kippurim zeh ad yom kippurim Habalenu Litava Kulahon Icharat Navahon Kulahon Yehon Shiran Shivikin Shevitin Betelin Umevutalin La Sharirin Vela Kayamim Nidrana La Nidre Besarana La Esare Ushvuatana La Shavuot V'nislach l'chol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hager b'tocham ki l'chol ha'am bishgaga V'nislach l'chol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hager b'tocham ki l'chol ha'am bishgaga V'nislach l'chol adat b'nei Yisrael v'lager hager b'tocham ki l'chol ha'am Bishgaga Slach lanu lavon ha'am hazeh kegodel chazecha v'chasher nasat ha'am hazeh mimitzrayim v'yadhena v'sham ne'emar v'yomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha Vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha. Vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Shehecheyanu v'kimanu V'giyanu lasman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lasman hazeh Amen.
Continue on page 207.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevarach. Baruch Adonai HaMevarach Li'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'yivaro ma'arav ravim b'chachmat b'tei yisharim v'yitmanam b'shalatim b'chli v'sinu v'sadeh Umavir yom Umevi laila umavdil ben yam uve laila Adonai tzvot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu li'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Amen. Amari Varavim. Avat Olam Yisrael Mechafta Torah Yisrael Yushav Marta Keno Bashak Kamino Nasibek Kachabisma. Kim Chayenu V'Yorech Yameinu Uvehem Neke Yomam Alayla V'Avatcha Al Tasir Mimenu Yilei Olamim Baruch Ata Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shekevod Malchuto Liolam Vaed V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levacha u'chol nafshecha u'chol modecha V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al levavecha V'shinamtam levanecha V'dibarta bam V'shivtecha b'veitecha U'vlechtecha v'aderech U'shachbecha u'vkumecha Ukshartam la'ot al yadecha V'hayu l'totefot b'neinecha U'v'tachtam al mizuzot beitecha U'v'hisharecha V'ya'im shema tishnu el sayashem Natati matar tzvanim zayin l'kosh zafin d'ekut b'bajem Yisham l'moshe t'ayim t'abat chazak Moshe t'chalak Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor Dahaber el bnei Yisrael v'yamarta alehem v'yasu lahem tzitzit al kanfei b'deihem l'doratam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanat b'til techelet v'hayalachem l'tzitzit uritem oto uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo taturu Acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkiru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem emet Kamira Kazov Kam Lena Some now shading the high even long time. Umachuto beratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe uMiriam uvnei Yisrael lachanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder ba'kodesh, narati lo osefele. Apucha rovanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe, zeli yanu v'yamiru, Adonai yimelov, li'olam, Vaed V'nema Kifada Adonai Yaakov Ugalom Yachazak Mimenu Baruch Ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
We have an English reading on page 211.
Yep. Are you waiting for the colors? Allow us, Adonai, our to sleep peacefully and to awaken again to life, our sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace, to restore us with your good counsel, Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us
enemies and pestilence, swords, starvation, and sorrow, and remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you are the sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over you in peace, Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us and over all the people of Israel and over Jerusalem.
Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Rise, the second paragraph on page 212.
Vayom hazeh yechaper alechem letaher etchem mikol chatotechem lifnei Adonai titaharu. Yitkadav, Shemei Rabbah, B'yom Adivra Kirute, B'yom Liv Malchute, B'chayechon, U'v'yomechon, U'v'chayedecho Be Yisrael, V'agalav Izman Karib, V'miru, Amen. Shmei Rabbah mevarach li'alam olamei Avaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitrama V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shemei de Kudesha Rebu Le'ela Mikol Berchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Dami Rami Ama Limeru. Amen.
We recite the Amidah now privately, page 213 through page 221.
People are,
Here we go. Trying the sound from the sanctuary. There we go. We're getting a thumbs up here. I'm not seeing anything on my screen. People hearing us from the sanctuary now? A little thumbs up from anybody in the, no one's giving any reactions there.
I can hear.
We can hear. Great. So then we're going to begin. Hello, sorry for the technical problems. This is a time, I don't know if you heard before, this is a time for Arnold Revson to share the appeal. We can unmute Arnold.
Okay, I'm here.
There we go.
So, as promised, I am Arnold Revson. I'm the Vice President for Development at TI, and I am before you to discuss the annual appeal, which in some respects is as traditional in shuls as the Kol Nidre prayer. Let me just take a minute to put the appeal into the context of the TI budget. So we have, of course, expenses for staff, for building upkeep, and for programming, including ritual and the school. We derive income from membership dues, some fees, like school tuition, and rentals. To maintain the dues at what the board hopes is a reasonable level, we supplement our revenue with an annual appeal to close what would otherwise be a budget shortfall, and in a good year, to provide some extra resources to enrich TI programming. This will obviously be an unprecedented and complicated year for shul finances. The rentals are gone since the pandemic began, though the building has for the most part been closed, which saves a bit on HVAC. But more important, we've hired a new rabbi for whom we wish to provide the support that he will need to enhance TI activities. And on top of all that, some of our members face unanticipated financial strains. On the other hand, despite the pandemic and economic crunch, many congregants are, I am glad to say, doing well. For those folks, the appeal has another aspect that may not be universally appreciated, namely that it, hopefully, provides an incentive and mechanism for those who can afford more than the annual dues to augment their contributions to support the TI community, including potentially helping members with financial problems and providing funds to undergird the initiatives from Rabbi Werbow to which we look forward. The appeal began about a month ago, and many of you have already made commitments, for which I thank you. However, we still have a ways to go, so I urge those who have not pledged to do so straight away. And if you have already contributed, to please consider adding to your pledge. This year, we obviously do not have those nifty cards that were collected in the sanctuary after you placed stickers on them. But I ask that you resolve now to keep TI in mind after Yom Kippur. Thanks for listening. Shana Tova Tikatevu.
Okay, we're going to start with Yaleh on page 223.
Yaleh tachnunenu me'erev v'yavo shavateinu miboker v'yera rinunenu hararev Ya'aleinu me'erev v'yavo tzikateinu miboker v'yera hidyonenu ararev Ya'aleinu yenu me'erev v'yavo slichateinu miboker v'yera nakateinu ararev Ya'ale menuseinu me'erev v'yavo l'manau miboker v'yera kipureinu ararev Ya'ale yishenu me'erev v'yavo tareinu miboker v'yera chinunenu ararev Ya'ale zichronenu me'erev v'yavo v'yudeinu miboker v'yera hadrateinu ararev Ya'ale dafkeinu me'erev v'yavo gilinu miboker v'yera bakashateinu ararev Ya'ale enkateinu me'erev v'yavo elecha miboker v'yera eleinu ararev.
Page 225.
Haneshama lach v'haguf palach chusa amalach Haneshama lach v'haguf palach chusa amalach haneshama lach v'haguf palach chusa amalach Haneshama lach aguf shalach Adonai asay leman shemecha Atanu ashbecha Adonai asay leman shemecha Babur kivoshimcha kiel chanu v'rachum shemecha leman shemecha Adonai v'solach talavuneinu ki rahavu Darkecha Eloheinu l'harichatecha l'ra'im v'latovim v'hi tehilatecha Leman Eloheinu aseh v'lo lanu re'ei amidotenu dalim v'reikim. Ta'ala rachalala nidaf tilachem al afava efer tashlich hatatenu b'tacha b'maasecha teira ki ein ish aseh imanu tzedaka.
Page 226, we come to one of the sections we will recite the 13 attributes of divine mercy. Each time we get to that, we will open the ark and rise.
Elerech apayim ata ubal rachamim nikreta v'derech teshuva horeta gedula rachamecha v'chasadecha tizkor hayom v'chol yom l'zera yedidecha teifen elena barachamecha ki ata hu bal arachamim pichtach nun uvitfila panech nikadem kahodata le'anav mikedem mecharon abchashuv Kemo v'toracha katuv uvitseil knafecha nechsev nitlonan keyom vayered Adonai be'anan tavor al pesha v'timche asham keyom vayatzev imosham ta'azin shavatenu v'takshiv menu ma'amar keyom vayikra v'shem Adonai vayavor Adonai al panav vayikra Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Echanun, Erech Apayim, V'rav Chesed Le'emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'fesha, V'chata V'nakei, V'solach Tolavonenu, Ulechatotenu, Unechatanu. Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, Nechal lanu makenu ki fashanu, Ki ata Adonai tov v'salach, V'rahav chesed lecho korecha.
Page 227, Kihine Kachomer. See, this piyut is full of metaphors of how God has one role to play, and we are the ones that God sculpts. As clay in the hand of the potter who thickens it or thins, it will so we're in your hand. We're the stone in God's hands, we're the iron in God's hands. During this piyut, I'd like to give the opportunity for individuals, if they want to put in the chat other metaphors that they can think of ways that God directs things, and we are the ones that God directs. Page 227.
Kihine kachomer biyad hayotzer, birtzoto marachit, uvirtzoto mekatzer, kein anachnu biyadcha, chesed notzer, chesed notzer, laberit habet, labrit habet, labrit habet, labrit habet, biatefen la yetzer, ki hine ka'even biyad hamisatet, birtzoto oches, uvirtzoto mechatet, kein anachnu biyadcha, mechaye umemotet, mechaye umemotet, labrit habet, labrit habet, labrit habet, labrit habet, biatefen la yetzer.
As iron in the hand of the blacksmith who forges or withdraws it at will, so are we in your hands, support of the poor. We call your covenant, do not heed your accuser. Any other metaphors that people can think of? God's the programmer and we are the code. Very nice. Good. God is the choreographer. We're the dancer. God's the blacksmith. That one came too fast. God's the choreographer and we're the dancer. As God is the conductor, we are the players. God is the quilter and we are the quilt. We are the characters in God's novel.
God's the director, we're the actors. God's the knitter, we're the sweater. God's the distiller, and we are the spirit. Very nice. Beautiful. People can continue to put some in as we continue with the last verse.
Ki hine kakesef biyad hatzoref, birtzoto misaksek, uvirtzoto mitzaref. Kein anachnu biyadcha, mamsi limazor teref. Labrit habet, labrit habet, labrit habet, labrit habet, v'yal tefen la yetzer.
Page 229.
El melech yoshev al kisei rachamim mitnaheg b'chasidut mochel avonot amo ma'avir rishon marbe mechila l'chata'im uslicha lefoshim oset tzedakot im kol b'sav haruach lo charatam tigmo el hareita lanu lomar shlosh esrei zechor lanu hayom berit shlosh esrei kemo shehodata le'anav mekedem kemo shekatuv Vayered Adonai be'anan, vayityatzeh v'mosham, vayikra b'shem Adonai, vayavor Adonai al panav vayikra.
We rise.
Adonai, Adonai, el rachu v'chanun, erech apayim, V'rav chesed ve'emet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nosei avon v'fesha, v'chata v'nakei, v'solachta la'avonenu, u'lechatotenu, u'lechatanu. Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, mechal lanu makenu ki fashanu, ki ata Adonai tov v'salach, v'rav chesed lecho korecha.
So many things that we do in our services are in groups of three, Kol Nidre being in three, and now the Slichot prayers being in three, the third of the 13 attributes of mercy on page 232.
El melech yoshev al kisei rachamim, mitnaheg b'chasidut, mochel avonot amo, ma'avir rishon, marbe mechila l'chata'im, uslicha lefoshim, oset tzedakot im kol b'sav haruach, lo charatam tigmo, el hareita lanu lomar shlosh esrei, zechor lanu hayom berit shlosh esrei, kemo shehodata le'anav mikedem, kemo shekatuv, vayered Adonai be'anan, vayityatzeh v'mosham, vayikra b'shem Adonai, vayavor Adonai al panav vayikra. Adonai, Adonai, el rachu v'chanun, erech apayim, v'rav chesed ve'emet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nosei avon v'fesha, v'chata v'nakei, v'solachta la'avonenu, u'lechatotenu, u'lechatanu. Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, mechal lanu malkeinu ki fashanu, ki ata Adonai tov v'salach, v'rav chesed lecho korecha. Ha'azin Adonai tfilatenu, v'hakshiva b'kol tachnunotenu, hakshiva l'kol shavenu, malkeinu v'eloheinu ki elecha nitpalal, Tehina aznecha kashevet ve'einecha petuchot el tfilat avodecha amcha Yisrael. V'shamata mina shamayim imcha shivtecha et tfilatam ve'et chinotehem v'asita mishpatam v'solachta li'amcha asher chatu lach. Kerachem avabanim kein terachem Adonai aleinu. L'Adonai ha'ushva amcha v'techa selah. Adonai tzvori monu miskavlanu Elohei Yaakov selah. Adonai tzvaot asher yondomoteach bach. Adonai Ashiyah melech yaneinu v'yom korenu. Slach na la'avon ha'am hazeh kigod chasdecha. V'cha asher nasat olam hazeh mimitzrayim v'yad heina. V'sham nehemar. Vayomer Adonai solachti kivarecha.
The Chinese tell the story of an old man who's too weak to work in the garden or help with household chores. He just sits on the porch, gazing out across the fields while his son tills the soil and pulls up the weeds. One day his son looks up at the old man and thinks, what good is he now that he's so old? All he does is eat up the food. I have a wife and children to think about. It's time for him to be done with life. So he makes a large wooden box, places it on a wheelbarrow, rolls it up to the porch and says to the old man, Father, get in. Father lies down in the box and the son puts the cover on, then wheels it toward the cliff. At the edge of the cliff, the son hears a knock from inside the box. Yes, Father, the son asks. The father replies, why don't you just throw me off the cliff and save the box? Your children are going to need it one day. In Shema Kolenu, which we find on page 233, we find the line, Al tashlichenu le'et zikna ki chot kochenu al tazvenu. This prayer, we say, hear our voice. This is the plaintive cry which brings many of us to tears. We say, do not cast us off when we are old. When our strength fails, do not forsake us. The arrival of a new year reminds us of the passage of time and our own eventual fate as the years go by. Within these verses we're about to chant, we find three themes, the three elements that can avert the severity of the divine decree according to the author of Unatana Tokef. Tfilah, tshuva, utzdaka, prayer, repentance, and righteous deeds. Tfilah, Shema Kolenu, heed our cry. Teshuvah, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva, turn us back to you, O Lord, and we shall return. And tzedakah, Al tashlichenu, do not cast us away. As we would not be cast away, we are reminded not to forsake others, but to treat them with righteousness and love. May our prayers be answered this Slichot night. May God hear our voices as we call out at this penitential season and respond with graciousness as we seek atonement for our shortcomings in the year gone by. May our repentance be sincere, and with God's help, may it be accepted. Shema Kolenu, page 233.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chos Rachem Aleinu, V'kabel Barachamim Uvratzon et Tfilateinu. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Al tashlichenu milfanecha Veruach kadshecha al tikach mimeni. Al tashlichenu li'etzikna tichlokachenu al tazvenu. Al tasveinu v'Eloheinu al techavim mechem. I don't know, Eloheinu. Eloheinu v'le'avoteinu v'imotenu, al tazveinu v'al tichenu, v'al tachlimenu v'al tafebritcha itanu, korveinu l'tortecha lamdeinu mitzvotecha, horeinu d'rochecha, hatlibeinu li'yirat shemecha, umol et livaveinu li'avotecha, v'nashuv elecha be'emet uv'lev shalem. Uleman shimcha hagadol timcha v'tislach lavonenu, kakatu b'divrei kodshecha, leman shimcha Adonai, v'solachta la'avoni ki ravu.
It's 234.
Eloheinu v'avoteinu v'imotenu, slach lanu, mecha lanu, kaper lanu. Ki yanu amecha v'ata Eloheinu, anu vanecha v'yata avinu, anu avadecha v'ata Adonenu, anu kehalecha v'yata chelkenu. Yai-da-da-da-dai, 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 anu nachlatecha v'yata goralenu, anu tzonecha v'yata roenu, anu charmecha v'yata notrenu, anu fulatecha v'yata yotzrenu. Yai-da-da-da-dai, 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 anu rayatecha v'yata dodenu, anu sigulatecha v'yata kirovenu, anu amecha v'yata malkenu, anu mamirecha v'yata mamirenu. Yai-da-da-da, 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 yai-da-da-da.
The middle of page 234, we come to the first of the public viduis, the first of the public confession of prayers. We had our time to say it individually during the Amidah, and now we'll say them collectively, page 234.
Anu azefanim v'yata rachum v'chanun, anu k'sheyaref v'yata erech apayim, anu malei avon v'yata malei rachamim, anu yameinu kitzel over v'yata hu ushnotecha lo yitamu. Eloheinu v'avoteinu v'imotenu, tavo lefanecha tfilatenu, v'al titala mitchinatenu, she'ein anachnu azefanim u'ksheyoref lomar lefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'avoteinu v'imotenu, tzadikim anachnu v'lo chatanu. Avo, anachnu v'avoteinu v'imotenu, Chatanu.
We rise.
Ay, 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 Hashamnu, Bagadanu, Gazanu, Dibarnu Dofi, ay, 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 Hevinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tafanu Sheker. Ay, 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 ay. Yatsnura, Kizavnu, Latnu, Maradnu, Niyatsnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu, Aref. Ay, 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 ay. Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiyavnu, Ta'inu, Titanu. Sarno mishpatecha tovim v'lo shavalanu. V'atat tzadik al kol haba aleinu. Ki emet asita ve'anachnu hirshanu.
I have an English reading in the margin on page 236, the reading, All Our Secrets.
All our secrets are known to you, Adonai. We cannot even fool ourselves. Lying is a vain exercise. Help us not even to try. How could we deceive you within us, at once forming and knowing our most secret thoughts?
We live in a world of illusion. We each think we are separate, alone, cut off, misunderstood, unwanted. We forget we are part of your glory, each of us a unique ray of your light. As we live our lives rent asunder, each in our own small world, help us to remember what we often forget. We need one another. We each are part of the other, and in some place so well known, yet so secret, we may find our true solace in you.
Page 237.
Achet shachatanu lefanecha ben ones uveratzon. Yachet shachatanu lefanecha b'imut halev. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'lidat. Yachet shachatanu lefanecha b'pitui svatayim. Achet shachatanu lefanecha b'gibur harayot. Achet shachatanu lefanecha Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara. Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'yodim uvelo yodim. V'yakulam Eloha selichot. Slach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu. Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'chachashu v'chazah, v'achet shechatanu lefanecha b'chapat shochad. Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'latzon, achet shechatanu lefanecha Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'einayim ramot, v'achet shechatanu lefanecha b'azut metzach. V'yala kulam Eloha selichot. Slach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu. Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'frikat ol. V'achet shechatanu lefanecha b'flilut. Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'tziyariyah. Achet shechatanu lefanecha b'tziyariyah. V'yal kulam Eloha slichot, slach lanu, michal lanu, kaper lanu.
For the sin which we have committed by making unreasonable demands of God, for the sin which we have committed by restricting our Judaism to the synagogue, rather than making it live in our homes, for the sin which we have committed by steadfastly ignorant about our faith and its traditions, and for the sin which we have committed by pretending that we did not have time for study, for the sin which we have committed by taking from our community rather than giving to it, and for the sin which we have committed by praising the dedication of others instead of following their example, for the sin which we've committed by believing ourselves to be superior to others, for the sin which we've committed by doing nothing to distinguish our behavior, for the sin which we've committed by denying our own responsibilities to society at large, and for the sin which we've committed by finding fault with those who dedicate their lives to the welfare of others, for the sin which we've committed by turning our backs on the poor and defenseless, for the sin which we've committed by narrowing our vision of ourselves, for the sin which we've committed by tolerating violence against children, for the sin which we've committed by showing contempt and impatience for the old, for the sin which we've committed by not campaigning for the amelioration of the rights for the disabled, and for the sin which we've committed by thinking that only those of able mind or body can play a part in society. For all these sins, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
V'yal kulam Eloha slichot, slach lanu, michal lanu, kaper lanu.
On page 240, we have the prayer Hu Ya'anenu. I'll share these verses in English and everybody can respond in their own homes. Hu Ya'anenu. May God answer us. May the one who answered Sarah pass the time of her youth. Hu Ya'anenu. May the one who answered Abraham on Mount Moriah.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Isaac, their son, bound on the altar.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Rebekah as her son struggled within her.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Jacob at Bethel.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Leah in her loneliness.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Rachel desperate for a child.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Joseph abandoned in prison.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered the Hebrew midwives as they stood at the birthing place.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Yocheved having faith on the bank of the Nile.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered the people of Israel on the shores of the sea.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Moses standing on the slopes of Sinai.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Miriam with her well of water.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Aaron offering incense to God.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered Pinchas seeking the place above the crowd.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered the daughters of Slofchad standing their ground.
Hu Ya'anenu.
May the one who answered those who are righteous, upright, decent, and compassionate. Hu Ya'anenu. Page 243, we rise for Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu aseh imanu l'man shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu batem aleinu kol tzera shot. Avinu Malkeinu Avinu Malkeinu, Hachzireinu Mishuva, Shlema Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu Shlach Refuah Shlema L'Cholei Amecha. Avinu Malkeinu Zachrenu B'Zikaron Tov L'Fanecha. Avinu Malkeinu Katvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu Katvenu B'Sefer Gula B'Yeshua. Avinu Malkeinu Katvenu B'Sefer Parnasa V'Chalkala. Avinu Malkeinu Katvenu B'Sefer Zechuya. Avinu Malkeinu Katvenu B'Sefer Slicha U'Mechila. Avinu Malkeinu Atzmach Lani Yeshua B'Karov. Avinu Malkeinu Ren Karen Yeshua. Avinu Malkeinu Aseh L'Ma'ancha Im Lo L'Ma'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu Chanenu Vanenu. Avinu Malkeinu Chanenu Vanenu Ki Ein Banu Masim. Aseh Imanu Tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh Imanu Tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshiyenu.
Page 245.
Yikada v'yikada shemei Rabbah v'yoma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho be'Yisrael b'gala uv'zman kari v'imiru amen. Yehesh Rabba Mevarach Li'olam Olam Be'yomaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitzha'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitzaleh V'yithalal Shemei D'Kodesha Shemei Kodesha Rechu Li'ela Li'ela Miko birchata v'shirata tushbichata v'nechamata damiran v'yama v'imiru amen. Tikabel tzalot honuvahut hodecho Yisrael kodom avuhon divishmaya v'imiru amen. Yehesh lama rahaba min shemaya b'chayim aleinu v'yako Yisrael v'imiru amen. Oseh shalom b'rama hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yako Yisrael V'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'emiru amen.
We rise for Aleinu, page 246.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latei kedula liotzer bereshit shelo asanu kigoye haratzot V'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkeinu kohem V'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Shunateh shamayim v'yosef rasim Hashem v'chafi shamayim v'shem v'shem v'yatata yom Kakatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch li'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, echad.
Page 248, Psalm 27, the Psalm for the season of Tshuva.
The David Adonai Ori v'yashimi mi'ira, Adonai ma'os chayami mi'echad. Bekrov l'amarim l'chol service. Luhulehem antilero betuv Adonai b'eretz chayim, kaveh el Adonai chazak b'yametz libecha, v'kaveh el Adonai.
Page 247, Kadisha Tom, the mourner's Kaddish. Those in mourning or observing a yort site can unmute themselves to share the Kaddish together. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma, Yisrach, Yerutei, Ve'amlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei, D'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'zman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Borach, Le'olam, Shmei Damaya. V'barach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yitaleh, V'yithalal, Shmei Kudsha, Brichu, Le'ela, Mikol, Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechamata, Damiran, Ve'alma, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba, Min Shemaya, V'chaim, Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Yoseh Shalom, B'imromav, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Continue our conclusion with Adon Olam, page 249.
Adon Olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol Adon Olam yitzir nivra, Adon Olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam, li'et nasa v'chefzo kol, azai melech shemo nikra, azai melech Adon Olam, shemo nikra, Adon Olam, Adon Olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam, v'yacharei kichlot hakol, levado yimloch nora, levado Adon Olam, yimloch nora, Adon Olam, Adon Olam asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam. Vehu haya, vehu hove, vehu yeh b'tifara, vehu yeh Adon Olam b'tifara, Adon Olam, Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam. Vehu echad v'yein sheni, lehamshilo lehachbira, lehamshilo Adon Olam, lehachbira, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam. Bili Reshit, Bili Tachlit, Velo Ha'oz V'Ha'misra, Velo Ha'oz, Adon Olam, V'Ha'misra, Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem kol yitzir nivra, B'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam. Vehu Eli v'chai goali, v'tzur chevli b'yetzara, v'tzur chevli Adon Olam b'yetzara, Adon Olam, Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam. Vehu nisi umanosli, minakosi b'yom ekra, minakosi Adon Olam b'yom ekra, Adon Olam, Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam. B'yado afkid ruchi, b'yed ishan v'ya'ira, b'yed ishan Adon Olam v'a'ira, Adon Olam, Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam. Ve'im ruchi geviyati, Adonai li v'lo ira, Adonai li, Adon Olam v'lo ira, Adon Olam, Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, Adon Olam.
I want to wish Yasher Koach and say Toda Rabah. Thank you very much to Dov Whiteman for leading us in Kol Nidre and Mariv this evening. A final thought before we conclude is we welcome everybody here and are happy that you've joined us. We'll come back together tomorrow morning at 9:30 for the continuation of our services. Later on in the day, we'll have the service of Ne'ilah. Not that we're looking ahead to that at all, but in Ne'ilah, we speak of the gates closing. And I want to leave us with an image of the gates opening right now for our prayers throughout this next day to enter. Open for us and for all of Israel, our siblings, for all humankind, in every place around this great earth. Open gates of light, gates of blessing, gates of mirth. Open gates of delight, gates of glory and splendor, gates of good counsel, gates of rights, gates of rejoicing. Open gates of purity, gates of salvation, gates of atonement, gates of good heart, Open gates of pardon, gates of compassion, gates of forgiveness. Open gates of help, gates of secure livelihood, gates of tzedakah and justice, gates of stability. Open gates of complete healing, gates of peace, gates of tshuva and return. Have a meaningful fast for those who are fasting, and for all of us, wishing that you're able to find the gate you need open at just the right time. Gamar Chatima Tova. May we all be sealed in the book of life. Amen.
Ideal was given voice.